Hello there and welcome to another BoBeats review, and today I have something special for you. I am reviewing the DROP from Neuzeit Instruments, and I'm gonna be totally honest here. I'm a little bit biased because I personally feel that this is the best MIDI controller that I've ever used. In today's video, I'm going to show you what the DROP is, how I've personally used it, and also at the end discuss some pros and cons, and also why you might want to get a Launch Control XL instead. And the DROP was sent over to me by Neuzeit Instruments, but as always, no money changed hands, and yeah, I'm free to say what I want. That's why I'm also recommending the Launch Control XL to some people. But for some people, this might just be the best MIDI controller out there. So stay tuned to find out why. To me, the DROP has two distinct sides to it. This side here is your typical MIDI controller, and as you can see, it has these nice LED lights that follow along when you turn a knob, and you can select different colors for that. But in essence, it's a MIDI controller, similar to the Launch Control, for example. And then we get to the second part of the MIDI controller, and this is where it gets really interesting. This is the jump and drop portion. So jumps and drops are basically snapshots of whatever is set up here. And then you can simply use these buttons here to jump or drop between the different snapshots of whatever is set up over here. So in this very simple example, you can hear how I'm switching between two different snapshots. Number 1. Number 2. And then I'm using the jump function to fade in . This thing here, and then I schedule a drop. So for this setup here, I am using the Digitech 2 as the master. It is clocking the drop, but it's also sending MIDI through the drop to the Minilogue XD. And here I've added a couple of controls. I'm gonna keep it a little bit simple here to start. So we got this loop here, control over cutoff, resonance, and we got this control here, which controls multiple things. Adds reverb, delay, also high passes, and also distorts a little bit. And this is something I think is really good. Each of the knobs here can have up to 8 different parameters assigned to them. Let's say we like this sound here. We can just press save and a slot. And now, since I have 2 snapshots, I can move between them. And you can see a little countdown going on here. And if we don't like the snapshots, we can hit Shift, Save, and then simply delete. Whoop, then it's deleted. And now we can just save some new ones. And if we want to, we can check. So we hit Shift and Save to go into Edit. And now if I press this here, you can see that these light up, indicating that they are part of the snapshot. If I turn the knobs here, I can turn them off for this particular snapshot. So the way to think about jump and drop is that drop is something you schedule. You schedule a drop. So if I press something here, you can see that this lights up. So if I start playing, you can see that these lights here are blinking. It's counting down to whenever the change happens, the change to a new snapshot. And you can change this time, and it's also synced to the beat, which is really nice. But in jump, the change is immediate. You have this knob here, and this knob lets you set a time from where you press to when the change happens. So let me show you here. So with the knob here turned all the way here to the left, the change is almost instantaneous. You can see how we are jumping between different settings. But if I turn the knob this way, it will slowly, gradually change the settings when I switch snapshot. You can see here, we start hearing the change coming in. And we see the changes here on the knob as well. And we can select another snapshot and jump to. And a really cool thing is that if I turn this knob while it's changing from two snapshots, it's gonna change the speed at which it changes between two snapshots. So we have a really long time for the change to occur here, right? But if I turn it down, you see how it speeds up. Can turn it back. There's also the ability to chain different snapshots together. It could be very useful, for example, for an arrangement. There is also banks, multiple banks. You can save more than these snapshots here. And I honestly think that the snapshot functionality is brilliant. You can use this to create different parts of an arrangement, but you could also use it to generate different ideas. And I think that for a live situation, this is very interesting because you could basically be live on stage, tweak it and just go somewhere with an arrangement, even just one pattern, and then save that as a snapshot, tweak it even more, save that as a snapshot, and then jump back and forth and create things very organically. And honestly, I think it's really cool. I also think we need to talk about the overall build quality of this thing. Now, if you look at this and the Launch Control XL, you might surmise that they are very similar. And sure, they have similarity in terms of like design. They're MIDI controllers after all. But in terms of build quality, there is no comparison. This is metal. It's very heavy. You could absolutely kill a zombie with it, while the Launch Control XL, and it's a really good MIDI controller, but it's all plastic. I don't think it has bad build quality, but it's all plastic, it's lightweight. You could probably hit a zombie one time with it and it will leave at least a dent, but the Launch Control is a lot less expensive than the Drop, and I'll discuss more about this later in the video. We also have to talk about connectivity. So we have power, we have two USB. One can send power, so you can power something like a Launch Control or a small synthesizer, for example. Also sends and receives MIDI. The second one doesn't power, but sends and receives MIDI. We have SD cards for project management. We have dual CV in and outs. I won't discuss URAC compatibility in this video. I think you should watch Syntad's video for that. And then we have 4 MIDI in and out on TRS, and you can switch it from MIDI type A to type B here as well. So the connectivity on the Drop is just a huge selling point, and there are few MIDI controllers like this with this kind of connectivity on the market. Earlier in the video I said you could use the drop as your hub for your entire setup, and this is what I've come up with. So we have the Digitact, clocking, the drop, but we also have the Launch Control XL as like an expander to the drop. It's using the USB, which supports power, so it's powering the Launch Control XL. You could also power something like a Nanobox, for example, and use that with this setup, just as an example. And this is set up as just basically a mixer for the Digitact. I could do this on the drop as well, but it frees up a lot of knobs and faders on the drop to do other things. So this is just a very plain mixer. We've got level control, we have mutes here, and we have reverb and delay and chorus sends on the XL. And I suppose I am showing you this as just an example of what you could do. So it's powered by the drop, and this is merged on the drop so that it's sending MIDI to the Digitact only. And then we have the form from Sequential. It's connected via USB here. It doesn't receive power, it's just for MIDI. It does have CC controllable parameters, and I'm sequencing both of these synths using the Digitact. So the Digitact is sending MIDI data, and you could exchange the Digitact for something else. Now, what's really cool and useful for a setup like this is that you can program these snapshots here to send certain CC messages. So these different snapshots here also mute and unmute various tracks on the Digitact. So it makes it so that on this particular snapshot, we have the mini-log, and on this particular snapshot the mini-log is muted, and we have the melody on the Digitact playing on track number 8, and then we have the form playing as well. And as you can see, we could move over to this snapshot here, basically like changing patterns in an arrangement, but it's also a little bit more flexible because we are still on the same patterns on the Digitact. So yeah, I think that this is actually a really cool way to do it. One thing I find super important when it comes to a MIDI controller is how easy it is to set up. And thankfully, the drop isn't overly complicated. Like, I won't lie to you. Any MIDI controller requires quite a bit of effort to set up, but the drop at least makes it pretty simple. So you press menu here, and as you can see, there are just these different settings to choose from. So we have devices, mapping, CV config, remote, basically controlling the drop using, say, another external MIDI controller, settings and project. So let's start with device. Here we just turn on a device. We can name the device. So device number 1 here is actually the Digitact 2. And then you set the default channel, then you set the output and input, so it's any of the hardware connections that we have here. And then we can go down here to database. Now, database is actually changed, I think, on the latest firmware. I had the feedback that database should be called preset, because what you're essentially doing here is you can load a preset. So it says Electron Digitact. If I press database here, there are a bunch of different devices that you can load. We can go out here, you can see here, there are a bunch of different presets. Now for the second device, it's actually the Mini-Log XD, and it's outputting on TRS number 3, so MIDI output number 3, and there's also a preset for it called Mini-Log, and the merge is turned on, the input is from the Digi, and it only listens to channel 1. What does this mean? Well, it means that we are taking any MIDI from the Digitact, and remember, we've already set up where the Digitact is connected, and the Mini-Log XD is listening for MIDI data that is being transmitted on MIDI channel number 1, and on the Digitact track number 9 is set to MIDI channel 1, so it's sending MIDI data to the Mini-Log. So this way you can use the drop as the hub for your MIDI needs. And when you MIDI merge, you can also select what kind of messages, so notes, bank, CC, pitch bend, aftertouch, program change, and so on. And on the drop, you can have up to 8 different devices, and the devices are important when it comes to mapping. So if I press mapping here, we can basically turn or move any element here. for example, this knob here. Press here to activate it. Now here's a bunch of different settings. I won't go over each one of them, but we can, very importantly, change the color. And as I said previously, there are 8 slots per element or per knob or fader. And here I have slot number 1. It's set to device digi. We can change that. We could change it to device number 2, the mini log. We can select a different channel. So channel number 1 is set by the device, but we can change it to whatever channel we want. Message type, here we have note off, note on, CC, poly aftertouch, pitch bend aftertouch, CC 14-bit, NRPN messages, program change, program plus bank, song position. And here we can actually go to the preset tab. And here we have a bunch of different things that we can affect, that we can control. Scrolling down, we can set a max and minimum value. We can set a curve. And that's how simple it is to set up if you have a preset. If you don't have a preset, you go to mapping, we push up knob here, and then we activate it, scroll down, activate a slot, select the mini log here, device number 2, press learn, and now it's listening. So it has a really nice MIDI learn functionality. So now we're listening here, and as you can see, if I turn the knob here, we are getting the right CC value, press pick, and now we have message number 43, which is the cutoff. I should also note that you have layer A and layer B. So layer B has its own setup, own controls, and you can jump between them very quickly. While I do think that this is a really good MIDI controller, it's probably the best one I've ever used, there are a few things that we need to discuss. First and foremost, the price. It's a lot more expensive than something like a Launch Control XL. And I will be honest and say that for most people, a Launch Control XL is just fine. It will do what you need it to do. You can set it up to control parameters on, say, a Digitact or a synthesizer that are hard to get to. For most people, a Launch Control XL is the way to go. You don't really need anything more advanced. But there are also a lot of people who need something more advanced. And for those people, the drop will just be in a totally different league than something like the Launch Control. Even if you don't think about the snapshots, you can set up 8 different parameters per element. There's the fact that it can handle so many different kinds of messages, not just CC messages. And when you factor the snapshot functionality into it, it just takes it to a whole other level. Also, connectivity is a big deal when it comes to MIDI controllers. Here we have 3 DIN MIDI ports, that's good. But the drop offers so much more in terms of connectivity. The reason why I'm comparing it with the Launch Control is because I know a lot of people will look at this and say, hey, this looks similar and it's a lot less expensive. Why is this more expensive? And I hope I made it clear that this is on a totally different level in terms of what you can do with it. But there are people who are better off with the Launch Control XL. It's less than half the price. It's very, very easy to set up. It also has a web UI and also an application for it. I don't think that the drop has any sort of standalone application at the moment. I don't know if it's planned. So for some people, the Launch Control XL will be the better choice, the obvious better choice. But for quite a few people, the drop will offer things that something like the Launch Control just can't. If you need it, you kind of know. And for those people, I think that it's a no-brainer. It's a really, really good MIDI controller. In terms of other negatives, I will say that the firmware isn't 100% there yet. There are things that I'd like to see changed, small things. I've encountered 1 or 2 bugs, but nothing major, nothing that broke the machine or made it freeze up or anything. But I think that your mileage will vary because as we know, with MIDI and with USB MIDI, there's a lot of potential for errors and problems. But the good thing is that even though that Neuzeit Instruments are a very small company, they've been super responsive on my feedback, and I think they're very tuned into what the community wants. So if there are any problems with it, I'm sure that they will address it. And yeah, I think that this MIDI controller has a really bright future ahead of it. And as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a little thumbs up, a comment, and let me know what you think about this MIDI controller. And as always, hope you have a great day. Talk to you all later.